left it on your doorstep for you for a week. Ha! You left what? My usually selfish sister-in-law called me out of the blue. She said she had put the baby in an eco bag and left it on our doorstep. I moved out yesterday though. As soon as she heard my reply, my sister-in-law shouted at me. I'm abroad, you know. Look for it now. I drove to the house in my old place in a hurry, but the baby was nowhere to be found. I must call the police. With trembling hands, I took out my mobile phone, and this was followed by the most horrifying fact of all. 10 years ago, I married my husband Atlas and we have lived together. I had always wanted to have children, but I was not blessed with any, and before I knew it I was 38 years old. My sister-in-law, Amelia, who is 5 years younger than me, is the one who uses me. Her husband was the president of the company and my husband worked for him. Abusing her position, it was a daily occurrence for me to be asked to do the shopping for my sister-in-law, who lived a 10-minute drive from our house. Moreover, after she got pregnant, she called me more often and even made me clean the house and cook dinner. I told my husband that even though I liked taking care of others, Amelia was indeed too selfish, but he said, I'll talk to her soon. I'm sorry, but you'll have to look after her for a while. I am sure my husband has a lot on his mind as he is used by his sister-in-law's husband. With that in mind, I was reluctant to go to her house whenever Amelia called me. Oh, my stomach is heavy. Here, Sage. Don't just stand there, get the TV remote. What? Wait. What? My sister-in-law is only 3.5 months pregnant. I felt that she had a big belly in spite of that. However, she has always had a chubby body, so I didn't say anything unnecessary. Wouldn't it be better to move around a bit on your own, for a safe delivery? You've never been pregnant before, so don't give me your opinion. She never listens to me and always gets back at me. He's our son and heir. What's wrong with taking good care of him? I was gradually losing my nerve and was full of stress as Amelia slumped on the sofa and kept acting so entitled. But when I questioned whether it was possible to tell the sex of a child at 3.5 months, she became angry as if she had just been set on fire. You have an old brain. Now that we're civilized, we can tell the sex right away. Unwilling to argue with my sister-in-law, who insisted as if it were obvious, I listened to her complaint, disgusted. You're jealous of me because you can't get pregnant yourself, aren't you? It's really bad for your prenatal care. If this baby isn't born safely, it's your fault. She then started using her baby as a shield to threaten me. It became suffocating to be with my sister-in-law, and I spent many days quickly running errands and coming home with a sigh. When I told my husband when he came back from work, he was appeased and said, "It's just a little more patience," and I spent the rest of the day with a blurry feeling. It was painful to hold on to these feelings, so when my sister-in-law would call me, I would give her all kinds of reasons and keep refusing. Then Amelia was in trouble because she told my husband that I was mean to her. My sister-in-law would not listen to me when I told her I had something to do and kept calling me. Unable to help, I picked up the phone and she let out an ear-splitting kink in her voice. "Sage, Do you want your brother's position in the company to get worse? You haven't forgotten that my husband is the boss, have you? Normally, my husband is a mild and gentle man, with a single-minded determination not to cause him any trouble. I had no choice but to go to my sister-in-law. In the meantime, the months passed and Amelia gave birth to a boy, 1 month before her due date. And what's more, the baby weighed over 9 pounds. Isn't he too big for being born so early? I wondered about this, but having never experienced pregnancy before, I accepted that it could happen. Amelia, who named the child Milo, called me when she was discharged from hospital and, as you can imagine, she called me and made me look after the baby. Think of it as child-rearing practice and do your job as a nanny well. I don't know if you'll be able to give birth, though. I was pissed off at my sister-in-law, but I knew it would be a lot harder on her body right after giving birth, so I visited home whenever she called me. Besides, the baby was so cute. Milo, you're a good boy. Grow up well. Changing nappies and giving baths, which were new experiences for me, did not bother me at all when I saw his face. After 3 months, however, my sister-in-law started coming to my house to leave her baby with me. What's up? Getting dressed up like that? I'm having dinner with someone from my husband's business. I'm going with them. So you, the nanny, will take care of Milo. I did my best to take care of the baby, thinking that the president's wife would have a lot of work to do once she got better. But after this, the number of times Amelia came to leave me Milo increased. Take care of him today too. This is too much indeed, you know. You're not accompanying your husband, are you? My husband has an important business meeting right now, and I'm helping him with it. You should cooperate too. My sister-in-law, who had raised her voice, forced the child on me and quickly went out. I wondered if she could be helpful wearing such a flouncy dress. Despite my doubts, I couldn't leave the baby in front of me, so I took care of him. However, on that day, unlike usual, Milo had diarrhea when I opened his diaper. He had no fever and was fine, so I kept the room warmer than usual to keep his body warm. In the evening, when Amelia came to pick up Milo, I told her about it, then she raised her voice at me. You useless bastard! You fed Milo something to harass him, didn't you? Just as I was shaking my head that I had done no such thing, my husband came home. What's all the fuss at the entrance? Atlas. I asked Amelia to take care of Milo because I trust her, but she gave him a tummy ache. My sister-in-law, who is always cursing me with harsh words, started to cry, her voice sounding so plaintive that I couldn't believe she was the one who was always cursing me. I understand how you feel. Sage doesn't have any experience in child rearing yet. It was cold today, so maybe Milo got a bit chilled. I apologize, so please forgive her. My husband defended me, but I didn't understand the point of apologizing when I hadn't done anything wrong, and I sent Amelia and Milo off with a mixed feeling. When I started to prepare dinner, my husband suddenly looked serious and took out an A4 envelope from his bag. Sage, I have something important to tell you. Dinner can wait, please sit down." I could not immediately believe the words he told me as he showed me the documents spread out on the table. Moreover, I was taken aback because I had never imagined this. But I realized that my husband's decision was firm and unwavering, and I nodded quietly. A week later, as I was opening the cardboards and tidying up, I received a phone call from my sister-in-law. "I hung it on the front door of Sage's house, so give me a week." "Huh? What? Don't fool me. It's my child, of course. You already let him in the house, didn't you?" When I asked her about it, Amelia told me that she had put Milo in her shopping bag and had stuck it on the front door knob because I was not home. Hearing this, I was surprised and panicked. "Wait a minute. We moved out yesterday, we're not going back to that house. You need to go and pick up Milo right now." However, my sister-in-law replied, "What? You're lying to me again," and didn't believe me. But when I replied in a serious tone that it was true, she suddenly became impatient. To my surprise, she had left Milo behind 5 hours earlier. Moreover, I was surprised to hear that she is currently traveling abroad. It was a chilly day, not yet spring, and the temperature had not yet risen. "Now go pick up Milo. Hurry up." I was more worried about the baby than being angry at my sister-in-law's attitude, so I quickly drove away. An hour later, I arrived at my old house and looked at the front door, but Milo was nowhere to be seen. No shopping bag either. Why? I looked all around the backyard and asked the neighbors, but nobody said they didn't know. "What do you mean they haven't even heard Milo cry?" I thought I had no choice but to call the police, and I picked up my phone, because there was no sign that they would even look for it. Then I received a call from someone. "What? What did you say?" So I heard the startling details and got speechless. After the call, I was walking around in a daze, unable to get my head around it, when I received a phone call from my sister-in-law. "He was in the shopping bag hanging on the front door, right?" "Oh, about that, I can't find him anywhere." "Seriously, this is bad. My husband will divorce me. If we can't find Milo, it's your fault." Amelia's voice was so shaky that even over the phone I could tell she was panicking. When I told her that there was nothing I could do at this point and that I would report her to the police to have them look for her, my sister-in-law adamantly refused. "If you did that, it would become a big deal and my husband would find out. Milo is more important than how people see you. Milo is just a tool to get money out of your husband." As soon as I heard these words, I was shocked by her selfishness. Despite my desperation, I heard my sister-in-law talking about something with the person she was with. After a while, my sister-in-law said, "You're ruining our trip," then something even more impossible. "I couldn't get a flight today, but I'm going back tomorrow, so don't ever tell my husband. Call me as soon as you find Milo. I'll do everything I can." Hearing my reply, my sister-in-law replied with satisfaction, "That's all right," and hung up the phone. The next day, when I was waiting for my sister-in-law at the airport, she appeared holding a man's arm. And when she saw me, my sister-in-law approached me grimly. Sage, what are you doing here? Did you perhaps find Milo? I came here to tell you something important. Milo has gone beyond your reach. It was too late. When I told her this with a downcast, sad face, she began to cringe. You're lying. What am I going to tell my husband? You useless bastard. Go and find me a baby that looks like him right now. What a thing to say. You're still a mother. My sister-in-law said that a baby of the same age would mislead my husband, even if it wasn't Milo. Anger and sadness welled up and I couldn't help but cry. But I quickly wiped the tears from my cheeks and looked her firmly in the eye. Instead of looking for a girl who looks like her, talk to this man. As I said this, a woman hiding behind me and wearing a deep hood showed her face. Then, not only Amelia, but also the body of the man who was with her started to shake. Yes, that man was the wife of my sister-in-law's cheating partner. The man, too surprised to move, was stuffed by his wife and said, "You piece of shit. I'll knock your guts out." And when she yelled at him over his head, he said pitifully, "Forgive me." But there was no way his wife would forgive this unfaithful man. Gnash your teeth. And she slapped me back and forth as hard as she could on the spot. The force of the slap was so great that people walking by stopped dead in their tracks. She turned to her sister, leaving the man who had fallen down rubbing his cheek. Amelia then turned pale and spoke quickly. You know what? Don't get me wrong. We don't have that kind of relationship. Hey Sage. Stop recording me with your phone. My sister-in-law was upset with me, holding up my phone so that she could see what was going on here, while somehow trying to deceive me. But I was calm. So how do you explain this? From the envelope I had brought with me, I offered her the email correspondence between my sister-in-law and her cheating boyfriend, as well as the two-shot photos of them making out that I had found on social media. Amelia forcibly took them from me and glared at me. It's disgusting that you're sneaking around. How did you find out this man's wife's contact details? I happen to know her. What? When I saw her cheating partner on social media, I thought he looked familiar. I realized from memory that he was the husband of the woman who worked at my favorite hairdresser. He was also a hairdresser, but I had heard that his wife owned several salons and was a skilled and successful hairdresser, while her husband did not work and spent all his time playing around. He was what is commonly known as a hairdresser's husband. When I went to tell his wife that he and Amelia had gone on an affair trip, she said, "I've run out of patience. I'm going to join in too," and she came with me. His wife usually has a mild and gentle atmosphere, but I was honestly surprised to see how scary she can be when she gets angry. Such a player husband was so mad at his wife that he just kept rubbing his hands together like a fly and asking her repeatedly not to divorce him. In response, I felt a strong determination as I watched her never shake her head. Moreover, Milo was the child of your cheating boyfriend, wasn't he? Ha! Don't say random things without any proof. Because he was born a month early, but over 9 pounds is indeed too big. You're cheating on the number of weeks too, aren't you? Saying this, I showed her the documents from a different envelope. One was a maternal and child health handbook, proving that my sister-in-law's husband and Milo are not biologically related. You filthy maniac. But if you tear these things up, it means nothing happened. Amelia snatched the DNA test document from my hand, tore it up on the spot and looked as if she had done it. I'm sure she thought she could get away with it, but it didn't happen. I'd better talk to the person who gave me these documents in person. When I turned the screen of my phone towards Amelia, she looked at me with her eyes and mouth wide open, as if she was about to scream. That's as it should be. What I saw on the screen was my sister-in-law's husband. I wasn't recording, I was on a video call with him. Amelia. How dare you trick me by lying about going to your parents' house? It's, well, so, what can I say? My sister-in-law flinched, repeating words that were not a reply at all. I stood in front of her and slowly opened my mouth. I'll explain one by one, so listen to me carefully. A week earlier, Amelia's husband had discovered emails between her and her boyfriend, and he had sent out a DNA test with Milo concerning the worst-case scenario. At the same time, he lied to Amelia that he was going on a business trip for a week to find out what she was up to. It turned out that Amelia emailed her cheating partner and immediately went online and applied for the trip abroad. She was so flustered that she probably didn't bother erasing the browsing history. On the day of the trip, Amelia put Milo in a shopping bag, hung it on the doorstep of my house and headed for the train station, humming and skipping along. Your husband, who was following you, was protecting Milo. I don't know what would have happened if he'd been left at the door for more than 5 hours like that. What? Does that mean Milo is alive? Yes, he's with us now. When I couldn't find Milo and was about to call the police, the incoming call was from Amelia's husband. Surprised, I immediately went to his house to ask him about the details of the situation. Milo was full of energy, flapping his arms and legs and playing with a rattle. There, as I asked him about the circumstances so far, he reminded me that he had given birth a month early and was over 9 pounds. I forced myself to accept it at the time, but I still thought it was strange. With the consent of Amelia's husband, I searched in Amelia's luggage and found the mother's handbook. Looking at its contents, I discovered that my sister-in-law had misrepresented the number of weeks of the baby's age. The reason why Amelia did it. That is because, going back to the actual timing of her pregnancy, her husband was away on a long business trip for 2 months at that time. In other words, he was in no position to be the father of the baby. When Amelia found out that she was pregnant with her affair partner's child, she thought she could just get away with it as it was only a month difference, but what was born was an unexpectedly big baby. And that's when I became suspicious of her. Then, here, her affair partner, who Amelia told everyone about, got down on his knees and started apologizing to his wife, banging his head on the floor. But his wife coldly said, "From now on you will live on your own," and slammed the divorce papers down on the spot. She kicked the crying, cheating man in the foot and walked away, leaving him with no hesitation and even feeling refreshed in the back. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law's husband was not silent. Of course I'm divorcing you. Be with that man there. No, I don't want to. His face was my type, but that's it. He has no money. You're only with me for the money, right? Having hit the bullseye, my sister-in-law choked on her words. You said Milo is just a tool to get money out of your husband, didn't you? Don't insinuate anything random. Sage told me what you said on the phone yesterday. I recorded it and left it as evidence in case something happened so that my sister-in-law couldn't get away with it. Amelia's husband, who had been silently listening to the exchange between me and my sister-in-law up to this point, had a bright red face and deep wrinkles carved between his eyebrows. My sister-in-law, who was told the unexpected truth, seemed to be shaking somewhat, her body trembling slightly. After a little while, however, she looked into the screen of her phone with a face that reminded her of something. If Milo was all right, then the result is all right. Besides, even though we're not blood related, I gave birth to him, so he's like your child. It was so ludicrous and self-serving that Amelia's husband and I couldn't help but simultaneously say what I said out loud at the same time. Seeing us like that, my sister-in-law must have thought she had successfully dodged us. She put her hands on her hips and made a proud face. Her husband said to her, "This is it." He then hung up the phone with a snap. "Hey, what are you going to do about it?" "I did everything I could, just like you asked me to do, but didn't you like it?" She was calling her husband from her own phone, but the call was blocked and seemed to be disconnected. More importantly, Amelia. Did you know it was a crime to go out with Milo in your shopping bag? When I showed her the screen of my phone, she shook her head and immediately fell into a heap, trembling with fear. "Amelia, we're leaving you here too. Goodbye." There was nothing more to say, and after giving her a cold stare, I left her and walked away, but I felt a chill. When I turned around, I saw my sister-in-law looking horrified, her eyes bloodshot and her eyebrows twitching. "I'm going to tell my brother. You moved out without telling me, and this is what happened. It was my husband who took pity on me being rubbed out by you and decided to move out. Then, of course, I know all about the incident this time. My husband said he would never see you again." My sister-in-law cried out loudly on the spot when she found out that she had been abandoned by her own brother, whom she thought was her only ally. How selfish can she be? Not even a single word of sympathy for Milo, even after all this talk. This is no time for crying. Go and get Milo now. I don't want a baby if my husband is going to divorce me. What kind of person are you? I can't forgive you. Don't ever forget what I just said. I won't let Milo back with you no matter what. Having said goodbye to my helpless and lousy sister-in-law, I walked out with a certain determination in my heart at this time. I then reported the matter of my sister-in-law leaving the baby to the police. Although she was immediately taken into custody, it was deemed to be so egregious an act that Amelia was pretty much strangled by the police. My sister-in-law was left alone as her husband had given her a divorce and she was cut off from her own family. After being charged $15,000 each by her husband and his wife for cheating on her husband, Amelia and her cheating partner loaned money to pay the fees. However, the company they borrowed from was a dubious one, so they were forced to work in dingy places to pay back the money. I am determined to raise Milo as my own child. When I told this to my husband, he readily accepted. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that I have also given birth to a new life. I will take good care of these children so that they can live a carefree life.